Serving aboard a ship is dramatically different from working ashore. At sea, there are objective dangers that can never be completely avoided or anticipated, despite the technological sophistication of modern ships. Many onboard tasks present hazards to personnel and equipment that can only be controlled by strict observance of designated safety procedures and the use of personal protective equipment. Vessel operations present hazards to the environment that must be avoided by careful observance of pollution prevention and waste disposal regulations. Because shipboard living and working conditions can be challenging, it is essential for seamen to develop good social and communication skills. This program offers an overview of personal safety and social responsibility issues in the onboard workplace, defined by Table 6 of the STCW Code as amended in 1995.
Okay, Team 2, approach the fire manifold.
It offers self-testing and assessment features that enable you to measure your knowledge and document your participation in your vessel's training, drilling, and assessment program. As you watch the videotape, keep in mind that your vessel may have additional policies and procedures that you must follow. Remember that your company's personal safety and social responsibility program is intended for your benefit, so take it seriously. Hazards associated with the marine workplace begin even before you board ship. Shipyards and marine terminals are dangerous places. As you prepare to board your vessel, pay careful attention to yard or terminal requirements regarding things like area restrictions, the use of personal protective equipment, and no smoking warnings. Engage your weather eye and seaman sense, and keep a lookout for dangers like loads in the air or slipping and tripping hazards. Boarding the vessel exposes you to falls, immersion, and even the potential of being crushed between the hull and the dock. As you board, make sure the gangway has been fully secured. Make use of handrails, and remember that running, jumping, and horseplay have no place aboard ship.
Hi, I'm Rafita Keys from UAB.
Hi, I'm
As you join your vessel, you'll receive familiarization training that acquaints you with your ship and the personal safety and social responsibility procedures you're expected to follow. The owner of your vessel has an obligation to provide onboard personnel with a safe workplace. You, in turn, have an obligation to follow established guidelines and rules. Among the first things you need to become familiar with are the vessel's station bills and station cards. No matter how well built the ship or competent the crew, no vessel can eliminate the possibility that it may be involved in an emergency caused by collision, by fire, by foundering, by grounding, or by severe weather. To cope with these emergencies, your vessel has safety plans that assign each crew member a job and a place to go when trouble strikes. Station bills are posted in prominent spaces like mess rooms and lounges. They list each crew member's stations and duties when emergency alarms are sounded. Your station card is posted in your stateroom. It offers additional information about where you should go and what you should do if an emergency occurs. It's your job to study these documents at your earliest opportunity and to ask questions about anything you don't understand. The general alarm for fire and emergency sounds like this. The abandoned ship alarm sounds like this.
Hey guys, let's go ahead and put our life jackets on.
This audio-visual alarm warns that carbon dioxide, an asphyxiating hazard, is about to be released into the engine room for fire suppression. There may be specialized alarms or warning systems associated with specific hazards aboard your vessel. Be sure you know your vessel's alarms and what to do if you hear or see them.
Contact warning.
3 men inside 3.
Along with alarms, your vessel has a variety of internal communication systems that can be vital tools for sounding and spreading emergency warnings.
3 men entering 5, starboard double bottom, copy that.
It's your job to know how to use every tool at your disposal.
Bridge, second mate.
We have a hot door at crew berthing.
The door is secure. Everyone is out. Fire party is on the scene, and we're breaking out the hose line at this time, preparing to attack the fire.
In an abandoned ship emergency, you'll be assigned a muster station.
Lifeboat number 2, all present and accounted for.
You'll be required to don a personal flotation device and may be assigned to bring additional equipment like this immersion suit to your muster station. Life-saving appliances are among the tools of the seaman's trade. As part of your familiarization training, you'll learn the location of these devices, and during regularly scheduled drills, you'll have the opportunity to practice using them. It's your job as a professional to understand each device thoroughly, and you should ask your supervisors to explain anything that isn't clear. Look around at your shipmates and ask yourself, which of these individuals will I be able to count on in a real emergency? Then look at yourself and consider how you measure up. You may be assigned to perform emergency response duties prior to reporting to your muster station. If the emergency has resulted in damage to the ship, close watertight and weather-tight doors and hatches to limit the ingress of water. Secure electric circuits and fuel supplies to affected areas, and help others reach safety.
Captain wants you up on deck. Hurry up. Right there.
You'll also have duties to perform in the event of fire. Fire at sea is terrifying. There's no place to run and no fire department to call. That places an extraordinary burden on you and each of your crewmates to practice fire prevention and to control the outbreak of fire if it occurs. As with life-saving appliances, you'll be advised of the location of the ship's firefighting equipment. It's your job to participate in drills and learn to use the gear in a professional fashion. You may be assigned to a fire response team to help spread the alarm,
Hey, fire in the windlass room!
to stage equipment, or to assist personnel who are in danger.
Kurt, get out of here. Get your survival suit and get to your life raft station.
If you discover a fire, immediately sound the alarm.
Hey, Dave, we got a fire in the crew berthing area, Class A. Nobody's in there. I'm securing the hatch. Get a hose team.
The bridge needs a description of what is burning, the location of the fire, and any actions that have been taken to control it. Make sure everyone who is in danger gets out of harm's way. You always have a responsibility to help your shipmates. You may be able to fight a small fire with the means at hand, but protect yourself. Be careful not to become a casualty of the incident. Isolate the fire by closing doors and hatches that restrict the inflow of oxygen. Secure electric circuits or fuel supplies that may be feeding the combustion. If you see or hear someone fall overboard, immediately sound the alarm. Keep shouting until you're confident the bridge has been alerted.
Keep him in sight. Throw the life ring.
Bridge, we have a man overboard.
Starboard quarter.
Man overboard. Hard right. Vince, down the general arm.
Hard right.
It's supposed to look out.
Another burden that falls squarely on the shoulders of the mariner is coping with medical emergencies. At sea, professional medical assistance may be hours or even days away. That means every seaman must be capable of performing an effective, immediate action in response to a medical problem. Senior officers must have advanced emergency medical training. You'll be expected to be capable of using medical equipment and of performing effective first aid procedures. Your vessel will conduct regular training sessions, drills, and assessments to ensure that each crew member understands his or her duties and has the skills required to perform them professionally, as well as to build the teamwork and coordination required to conduct an effective emergency response. A vessel crew is like a football team, and onboard training, drilling, and assessment are like the practices it takes to get ready for a game. Imagine how a football team would perform at game time if it never practiced and had no plays or assigned positions. Now, imagine how you and your team will perform in a life-threatening emergency. In the confusion of a real crisis, you and your shipmates could be pushed to the limits of your mental and physical capabilities. How well you perform in extreme circumstances will be directly proportional to how well you've trained and drilled. While every vessel must prepare for catastrophic emergencies, everyday job tasks represent the biggest threat to your personal safety. You will be expected to quickly familiarize yourself with the physical characteristics of your vessel and the hazards they present. You must observe your vessel's safety rules and utilize the personal protective equipment that is provided for your welfare. Beware of slippery surfaces, gear or lines on deck, door sills, and other circumstances that pose slip, trip, and fall hazards. Wear safety shoes at all times on deck and in machinery spaces. Beware of lines under tension and loads in the air, and of pinching or crushing injuries that occur when clothing or fingers get caught in moving machinery. Follow designated walkways and crossovers, and make use of grab rails. Be alert to hazards posed by cargo or equipment that shifts in rough weather. Keep one hand for yourself and one hand for the ship, and always have an escape route in mind when hazards are present. Stay clear of open holds or hatches. Don't be the victim of a fall through open manholes, unfenced tween decks, and loose or missing gratings. Use handholds on ladders and stairs. Stand clear of anchors, windlasses, or winches. Hard hats are generally required whenever you're on deck or in exposed dockside areas to minimize the threat of head injuries posed by low doorway entrances, overhead loads, falling equipment, or unsecured tools. Safety glasses are also generally required whenever you're on deck or in machinery spaces. Beware of burns from steam pipes, hot machinery, or welding sparks. Hot work requires a work permit and the use of appropriate personal protective equipment like gloves and goggles or a face shield. Personal protective equipment is required for tasks like chipping, welding, and painting. Specialized devices like dust masks, respirators, and protective coveralls are required for procedures that pose hazards to the respiratory system or skin. Electric current poses significant safety hazards. Observe designated lockout-tagout procedures before working on electric circuits, machinery installations, or pressure systems. Keep in mind that the hazards associated with all shipboard tasks are magnified in extreme weather or heavy sea conditions. Fatigue is another factor that increases shipboard risks. If you're too tired to do your job safely, alert your supervisor. Beware of confined spaces without continuous ventilation that may exhibit lack of oxygen, dangerous gases, fumes, and vapors, limited access, poor lighting, poor footing, and other dangers. Confined spaces include areas not normally intended for continuous occupancy. Although they are large enough for physical access, they're characterized by limited means of ingress and egress and frequently contain hazards. Prior to entering enclosed spaces, obtain an entry permit.
On the bridge to Encina, 4 guys go into 5 port ballast.
Roger that.
Open and ventilate the space, test the atmosphere, and don protective equipment. Continue to monitor the atmosphere and the safety of entry personnel. Beware of hazards associated with chemicals used on board your vessel.
Yeah,
Captain, I'm using some Magnaflux. Do you mind if I look at the material safety data sheets?
sure, go ahead. It's in the cabinet.
Okay, thanks, Cap.
Study material safety data sheets before using chemicals or substances you're unfamiliar with. Working aloft or over the side requires a work permit and the use of a safety harness. Ear protection is required whenever noise levels are excessive. Beware of hazards posed by dimly lit areas. Different types of gloves are required depending on the job task. A self-contained breathing apparatus must be worn before entering spaces where toxic hazards exist. In today's world, stowaways, pirates, and terrorists represent additional threats, and vessel personnel must never assume that it can't happen to my ship. In port, adequate security watches must be maintained on deck and at all vessel access points. Extra security should be posted in known piracy areas. All crew members should remain situationally alert to the threat of piracy and terrorism and immediately report unusual or suspicious circumstances or behaviors to proper authorities. Loading and unloading cargo poses hazards related to overhead loads, lifting gear, and cargo handling equipment such as forklifts and trucks. No unauthorized personnel should be allowed to enter the cargo handling area. On ro-ro ships, car carriers, or ferries, driving ramps represent high hazard areas that should be avoided by non-essential personnel. Personnel performing cargo handling operations aboard tankers, chemical carriers, and gas carriers must have specialized training in managing fire, toxic, and pollution hazards. Aboard passenger ships that carry cargo, all personnel, including galley, housekeeping, and service staff, must have training in crisis management and crowd control.
Give it to him.
Heads up!
Mooring operations present hazards related to line handling and the extreme forces placed on mooring lines and fastenings. These dangers are magnified in adverse weather conditions or strong tidal currents. Lines and line handling gear must be maintained in good condition prior to the mooring operation. Personnel should stay out of the bite of lines or wires and stand clear of running rigging. Lines under tension can kill. Pinching hazards are extreme where lines pass through chocks or around bollards. Tasks that require lifting and pulling pose hazards to your back. Learn proper lifting and pulling techniques and practice good posture and body mechanics even if the job takes a moment longer.
Do you have any questions? Okay.
Consider using a back brace, but be advised that these devices don't make you stronger or enable you to disregard proper lifting and pulling techniques. If the load is too heavy or too big, use a lifting appliance or get help. Interior spaces also pose hazards, and you must be equally careful as you move around living and working areas. Use grab rails and handholds, especially in a seaway. Practice good housekeeping in accommodation spaces, good hygiene in the head, and good sanitation in the galley. Make sure gear or garbage is properly stowed and clean up spills. If you see a safety hazard that can't be corrected immediately,
hey, mate? Yeah. I got a problem here.
Report it to your supervisor. Be advised access to areas like the engine room or the bridge may be restricted. Don't enter spaces you aren't authorized for. If you are assigned to sensitive areas, observe whatever special rules apply to those spaces. Be sure you're familiar with all escape routes from interior spaces. Engine rooms, deck tunnels, and duct keels usually have escape trunks that lead to the main deck. Other spaces, including your stateroom door, may have kick plates that provide emergency escape routes. Pollution and waste threaten water quality, shoreline habitats, and marine life. Causes of pollution include strandings and collisions, lightering operations, improper garbage and sewage disposal, tank cleaning, washing, and line flushing, chemical disposal, and deballasting. Preventing pollution and environmental damage is every seaman's responsibility. Annex 1 of the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, or MARPOL, requires your ship to meet construction standards and to observe procedures intended to minimize accidental or operational discharges of oil. Annex 5 regulates the management of garbage. It's your responsibility to understand these regulations and to practice good stewardship of the marine environment. Report spills or hazardous conditions immediately. You're responsible for learning the proper use of spill containment systems and absorbent materials, and for participating in pollution prevention drills. Placards posted aboard your vessel describe regulations for disposal of garbage. You're required to learn and follow the rules.
Okay, steady. Steady. 294.
The safe operation of a ship depends upon a chain of command that extends from the captain through deck, engine, and steward's departments. The chain of command, in turn, depends upon good communication.
Bridge says spring lines first. Spring line? Yes.
Because many shipboard operations are large and complex, requiring the coordinated actions of multiple crew members, it is critical that you be capable of understanding orders and of communicating clearly with your crewmates. Your captain and your supervisors rely upon the prompt and professional execution of the orders you've been given.
070.
070. Hi. I'm Rafita Keys, the new AB, and I'm here to relieve you.
I'm John. Nice to
During
meet you.
routine operations,
So, we're
effective
on
communication
autopilot.
promotes cooperation and
130.
improves crew relations.
We got a ship off the starboard beam.
Skipper, we have a Class Alpha fire on the port side.
In extreme
Advancing into the
circumstances,
space.
the ability to communicate quickly and clearly is an essential survival skill. You must speak and understand the English language.
Fred, second mate.
You must learn and utilize the standard shipboard terminology
Chief, I see a ship 2 points to port.
that enables seamen to communicate in a precise and commonly understood manner.
Hi, Ken.
Good communication requires an effort on the part of the sender and a willingness to listen on the part of the receiver. The close confines, the challenging conditions, and the extended periods aboard ship faced by seamen make it especially important to maintain good human and working relationships.
Hi, mate.
Oh, hi, Rafita.
Good relationships make the life of all seafarers more comfortable, more healthy, and less prone to accidents. A positive attitude and a smile can be critical elements in maintaining good crew relations. Simple courtesies like a greeting or a thank you
Thanks, Paul.
make shipboard life more bearable. It's important to practice these social skills during both on-duty and off-duty hours. Promoting good crew relations begins with the example set by senior officers. It depends on valuing diversity and on the fairness with which everyone is treated. Aboard ship, every crew member should be treated with respect and dignity, and the onboard workplace must be free from harassment and discrimination. No crew member can be permitted to engage in verbal, physical, racial, or sexual harassment. Because the onboard workplace is comprised of human beings, there is no way to ensure that there will never be friction between employees of different genders or different racial and cultural backgrounds.
Mate, can I have a word with you?
Sure, Rafita. Come on in.
I have a really big problem.
What every vessel operator must guarantee,
Tell me
however,
about it.
is that if problems arise, there are mechanisms in place to resolve them quickly and fairly. Commercial ships are equal opportunity employers that hire, train, and promote employees without regard to race, color, religion, national origin, age, gender, marital or veteran status, and physical or mental disability.
Mate Mike touched me in a very inappropriate way.
If you have a problem with a shipmate,
Glad you came.
you have the right to ask your supervisor
We don't
for help in
tolerate-
resolving the issue. If your problem lies with a
brought this to me.
supervisor, you have the right to
we
bring the
don't
matter to the
tolerate
attention of
harassment
your
on this
captain,
vessel
your
at
company's
all.
human resources department,
Can you tell me what
your
happened?
union representative, or the U.S. Coast Guard.
I'm going to talk to the captain. I'm going to have a talk with Mike and straighten him out, because this is just totally inappropriate. Then I'll get back to you and talk to you some more about this.
Each vessel
Okay.
officer is responsible for understanding and supporting harassment-free workplace policies, and each is expected to demonstrate respectful behavior at all times.
I'm real glad that you came and told me
If
about
allegations of harassment or discrimination arise, supervisors are required to take the complaint seriously, to investigate them, and to take appropriate steps to stop the offending behavior. It can be difficult to make a complaint about discrimination or harassment aboard the vessel where you live and work, but shipboard policy strictly prohibits any form of retaliation against individuals making complaints or cooperating with an investigation. Harassment includes comments, gestures, or hostile acts meant to degrade an individual because of race, color, sex, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, veteran or marital status. Unwelcome sexual advances or requests for sexual favors are prohibited. Sexually explicit pictures, cartoons, and even offensive looks or gestures can create an offensive work environment. What seems like playful adult humor to one may be intimidating or harassing to someone else. Anyone who feels threatened or offended should report the problem immediately.
This case
Every crew member has a role in ensuring that the onboard workplace is free from harassment and discrimination. Supervisors are expected to model respectful behavior, to take complaints seriously, to investigate complaints with the assistance of the Human Resources Department, and to protect employees against retaliation. The safe operation of ships demands that the onboard workplace be drug and alcohol free. The use of drugs or alcohol impairs judgment, speech, motor control, and emotional stability.
Hello, Joe. Yeah, we have a list here from the office of individuals who need to be tested for a random drug test. We'll start with Mike Brown, okay?
You'll be required to undergo drug and alcohol testing before you're hired, and you're subject to random testing or searches at any time. Violation of your company's zero-tolerance policy with respect to drugs and alcohol represents grounds for immediate termination and the revocation of your license. If drug and alcohol use are determined to have been factors in an accident or emergency for which you're at fault, you may be subject to criminal prosecution. If you require prescription medications, you must have a valid prescription signed by a physician. Shipboard life can be dangerous, tedious, and stressful. Your own safety, as well as the safety of others, is your responsibility. Living, working, and interacting together aboard ship requires a professional and respectful attitude among all crew members. Remember, your shipmates are depending on you.